Welcome dear students of class 9. Today we'll start the fifth lesson of our main textbook, The Snake and the Mirror. In this particular lesson you will see how a snake experience of a homeopathic doctor who goes to live in the house at that time, the night time, and it's a situation where it's very horrific because the snake is in the slithering in the house, and then it falls on him, and how the story is narrated to the writer, that we'll see it's a little bit of horrific as well as the funny things that happen in the lesson is worth enjoying. Let's see and start the lesson. Do you like to look at yourself in the mirror? What is you think about at such times? Have you ever seen a dog or a bird come into the mirror or look into the mirror? What do you think it sees? The time bird or mirror when they see themselves, a dog in the mirror, you must have seen them. They feel what it is in front of them, a virtual image of that. They feel it's real sometimes, and then the comedy also occurs because of that. The same thing will happen over here when with the encounter of the snake, when this homeopath doctor who is there, he experiences that and tells us. Has a snake ever coiled itself around any part of your body? A full-blooded cobra? All of us fell silent, and the question came from the homeopath. The topic came up when we were discussing snakes. We listened attentively as the doctor continued with his tale. So here the homeopathic doctor is sitting with his friends, and he is now talking about his experience of snake when the topic of snake was going on in between the friends. It was a hot summer night, about 10 o'clock. I had my meal at the restaurant and returned to my room. I heard a noise from above as I opened the door. It's a night time, and he's returning to his room from the restaurant after having a meal. The sound was a familiar one. One would say that the rats had shared the room. If the rats are moving about, touching things and dropping things, and that is a normal sound that he was used to hear. That he tells us over here. I took out my box of matches and lighted the kerosene lamp on the table. So here, to get the brightness or the light into the house. It was not like our time. Then at that time when this story is narrated, that there was electricity, and the lamp which we use for electricity, tube lights and lamps, are not there. People at night used to light lamps. The house was not electrified. It was a small rented room. It was just set up a medical practice, and my earnings were very small. So here, with the small earnings, he was staying in this rented room. It was not his own, and here, as I told you, it was not electrified. Electricity was not then wired electricity. I had about 60 rupees in my suitcase, along with some shirts and dhotis that I also possessed. One solitary black coat which I was then wearing. So as a coat also he wore, and as this homeopathic doctor, he narrates the story. He tells all these things. In the third paragraph, I took off my black coat, white shirt, and not so white vest, and hung them up. So he's freeing himself of his clothes and getting ready to sleep or read or whatever. It was an outer room with one wall facing the open yard. It had a tiled roof. Tiled means tiles were fitted in the roof, and with a long supporting gables. See, gable is given in the picture where you can see, and that rested on the beam over the wall. There was no ceiling. There was a regular traffic of rats to and from the beam. The beam, that part, the main support that is there on that, the rats were moving here and there. I could see that. I made my bed and pulled it close to the wall. I lay down, but I could not sleep. I got up, and as he wanted to sleep, he could not, and therefore, what he does, I got up and went out of the veranda for a little air, but the wind god seemed to have taken time off. So, the wind god means the wind. Is in our also in Hindu culture, we have this. We tell wind as a god. All natural things are given names of gods and goddesses. And so here he remembers that, but he tells that the god, wind god, was not there, and therefore there was no air movement, and he could not get the relief for what he wanted, and he comes back. I went back into the room and sat down on the chair. I opened the box beneath the table and took out a book, the Materia Medica. I opened it at the table on which stood the lamp and a large mirror. A small comb lay beside the mirror. So the whole situation of the room in which the homeopathic doctor who is narrating the story to the writer is, described over by him. One feels tempted to look into the mirror when it is near one. Here the comedy starts. He is in his own way describing things. So whenever it's obvious a mirror is in front of you, you would like to see how I look and all the things, are normal for a human being. It's psychological. I took a look. In those days, I was a great admirer of beauty and believed in making myself look handsome. So he's in the mid-20s, and therefore this is the time when you like to feel good and handsome and well-groomed, and different styles you present yourself with. All these are the age of this homeopathic doctor when they do that. So it is nicely explained over here. I was unmarried and I was a doctor. I was unmarried and a doctor. All these doctors have that ego with them, that I'm a doctor and I treat people and I have a status in the society. So I felt I had to make my presence felt. I picked up the comb and ran it through my hair and adjusted the parting so that it looked straight and neat. Parting means part of the hair that is on both sides, and the line that is there in between. That's called the parting. So he sees that the parting is absolutely straight and not broken or crooked. So this is the age when your appearance, you're very keen, to present yourself. So that is done very well by this homeopathic doctor and explained also nicely away. I took a close look at my face in the mirror. I made an important decision. I would shave daily and grow a thin mustache to look more handsome. I was, after all, a bachelor and a doctor. I looked into a mirror and smiled. It was an attractive smile. I made another earth-shaking decision. Earth-shaking decision means a serious type of decision. I'll do this and that. I would always keep that attractive smile on my face to look more handsome. I was, after all, a bachelor and a doctor. Too, on top of it, I'm not unmarried and I need a bride now, and at the same time I want to do the wedding and the society which I'm in, I'm a doctor, so it will be added advantage to my marriage. Again came that noise from above. I got up, paced up and down the room. Then another lovely thought struck me. This is also very comedy, creating situation. See over here as Dr. narrates. The question is about the wife he is going to marry. What type of wife he would like. He gives his opinion to his friends. I would get married to a woman doctor who had plenty of money and a good medical practice. She had to be fat for a valid reason. If I made some silly mistake and needed to run away, she would not be able to run after me and catch me. See, this happens. Always in married life, you see anecdotes and all. There's small stories where you see that the wife is angry on the husband and they run about here and that, who beat the wife, runs with the broom in her hand or like that. That's a normal type of situation. But here he knows that in those days also that happened. That means, and husband and wife, and here he, as a precaution to avoid such beating by the wife, he talks about to his friend that he will marry a fat lady, because if she is angry and runs after him, then the reach of her will not be possible. With such thoughts in my mind, I resumed my seat in the chair in front of the table. There were no more sounds from above. Suddenly there came a dull thud, as if a rubber tube had fallen onto the ground. Here, the thing that is horrifying that happens with the doctor. The experience is really, you know, difficult for him to manage, but anyhow, he does it so nicely and cleverly that he shows here. Surely nothing to worry about. Even so, I thought I would turn around and take a look. No sooner had I turned than a fat snake wriggled over the back of the chair and landed on my shoulder. Imagine a big cobra is landing on his shoulder. The snake's landing on me and my turning were simultaneous. As it turned, it fell on my. So that was simultaneous, means happening at the same time. The falling of the snake on the shoulder at the same time when he was moving on one side. So that on the shoulder it falls. I didn't jump, I didn't tremble, I didn't cry out. There was no time to do any such thing. The snake slithered. The movement of the snake in a controlled way it moves, was slithering around my left arm, along above the elbow. The hood was spread out and its head was hardly 3 or 4 inches from my face, so close with the snake. It was not correct to say merely that I sat there holding my breath. He's telling and narrating the situation. I was turned to stone. Always a snake, when it sees the movement, you cannot hear, but any movement is there nearby to it, then it tries to attack. And therefore, here the homeopathic doctor is very smart enough and doesn't move. But my mind was very active. The door opened into the darkness. The room was surrounded by darkness. In the light of the lamp, I sat there like a stone image in a flash. Flash means the mass से बनी एक जीव जो है without life, like that. He was sitting like a image of a stone. In the 8th paragraph, I felt then the great presence of the creator of this world and this universe. The great presence of the creator of this world. That is God. Always it's a human tendency that whenever one feels he is in trouble, then only men remembers God. Great many poetry and other anecdotes are written regarding that. Man never praise God on a regular basis to help him, but whenever he's in trouble, first thing he does is the prayer that God save me from this situation. That same thing happened. God was there. All of a sudden, you can imagine in the early part when he just feels himself proud that he's a doctor and he's a bachelor and he wants to marry, and in fantasy world. And now when there is real trouble, suppose I said something and he did not like it, I tried in my imagination to write in bright letters outside my little heart the words, "Oh God." If I speak something to God and he doesn't like it, then I will be in trouble. So he just spoke that, "Oh God," or not spoke, rather than that was as if in the heart he prayed from inside. There was some pain in my left arm. It was as if a thick leaden rod. A thick rod was there. No rod made of molten fire. It was slowly but powerfully crushing my arm. As you know, the snake, always tries to, coil around the body part to, what you call it, suffocate or uh, stop the blood flow and the breathing of the thing it attacks in particular. And therefore, here the same thing is happening. His arm is being crushed by the coiling of the snake around his arm. The arm was beginning to be drained of all strength. That could I do? What could I do? Now he's experiencing that, the arm getting unable to, sense or move, and it was getting, losing strength. So here he has to do something. At the slightest movement, the snake would strike me. The snake would strike and attack. That lurked 4 inches away. Suppose it struck, what was the medicine I had to take? If it stuck and I had a snake bite, then I don't have the medicine ready with me. What I will do? There was no medicines in the room. I was but a poor, foolish, and a stupid doctor. This is the irony. This is the comedy that is created by the writer, and the situational position in which the doctor, at earlier stage in the story, he saw that he was proud and looking in the mirror and feeling so proud to be looking handsome, and how he'll have a small mustache and always shave and all these things. And now he's from a handsome man, he's become a stupid fellow, and mad become a stupid doctor. I forgot my danger and smiled feebly at myself. So he even laughs for this drawback of his and his with himself. It seemed as if the God appreciated that. What I'm thinking, God appreciated. Why he thinks that? The snake turned its head. It looked into the mirror and saw its reflection. So mirror, attracts the snake. He is now decided, I'll not strike the doctor. I do not claim that it was the first snake that had ever looked into the mirror, but it was certain that the snake was looking into the mirror. Not the first time maybe, but the snake was definitely looking into the mirror. Was it admiring its own beauty? Compare his, instance. Earlier he was watching into the mirror and feeling that happiness, about his looks and the proud feeling that he was having about himself. And the same, so he's thinking, he's putting the snake in his position. That in his position, if the snake is there, what he is doing, is it watching in the mirror and feeling that it is very beautiful? Was it trying to make an important decision about growing a mustache or using eyeshadow and mascara and wearing a vermilion spot on his forehead? He says that looking into the window, what he's trying to do, that like me, he wants to make a mustache, a thin one, and also mascara or his eyeshadows and mascara. These are the all makeup things. So does the snake wants to do that and wearing a vermilion spot on its forehead? Tilak, or that we do know, the wedded ladies, they put a vermilion spot to show that they are married. Will it do it? It wants to do that. Looking into this mirror, the snake. That is the big question that lurks into the mind of the homeopathic doctor who is being in a trouble over here. I did not know anything for certain. What sex this was this snake? Was a snake? About the snake's. The snake was what gender it was, whether it was a male or a female. He could not make it out. Was it a male or a female? I will never know, but the snake unbounded itself from my arm and slowly slithered into my lap. From the arm, it's going into the lap of this narrator. From there, it crept into the table and moved towards the mirror. Perhaps it wanted to enjoy its reflection at a closer quarters. I was no mere image, but a granite. I was suddenly a man of flesh and blood. This was a very good sign, because the attention of the snake has been diverted from me to the mirror, and therefore I am safe now. I have become a man alive now, which was earlier turned into a statue. Still holding my breath, I got up from the chair. I quietly went out through the door of the veranda. From there, I leapt into the yard and ran for all I was worth. from the room. He had to go slowly and without the snake getting disturbed. If he makes any disturbance, then the snakes also can run very fast, or slither and crawl very fast and follow. So to avoid that situation, he very carefully moves out of the room in a way that is silent, without getting him on. From there I left him, and then he runs with the highest speed which is possible for the a person to run, because he has to run for his life. And when you run for the life, how fast you run, you know very well. Pew! Each of us heaved sigh of relief. Somebody asked, "Doctor, is your wife very fat? Is your wife very fat?" No. What's the what this question? It's very ironic. Again, earlier the doctor was expecting a wife which is fat and would not be able to follow him. Here, again the same question arises. When his friends ask the homeopath, was the wife of the was a fat one? So here, as you know, the snake is very thin, and what the same situational answer is given by the doctor. Where see how he says, no, the doctor said, God willed otherwise. My life companion is a thin, reedy person with the gift of a sprinter. So here the you can see that the snake is there. It's God has willed otherwise. He says the snake is what is the person who is after me, and the person after me as I talk to my wife. But this snake is really a sprinter which he chases me. Then I would be in trouble. Someone else said, Doctor, when you ran, did the snake follow you? No, it was not actually. We knew that he very smartly moved out. The doctor replied, I ran and ran till I reached a friend's house. Immediately I smeared oil over myself and took a bath. Because sweat was coming out maybe, and he was afraid to avoid the situation. I changed into fresh clothes the next morning at about 8:30. I took my friend and one or two others to my room to move my things from there. In the morning he had ran the house open at night. Imagine. Obviously, a robber, or he will come and just take away. Some money was there in his bag and whatever. A robber didn't let anything go away, leave anything without taking it away. But we found that he had little to carry, some brief, and had removed most of my things. So here he goes with his friends and see, and at that time the friends also know that he had not many things with him. It was a small bag which he had. The room had been cleaned out. See apostrophe. Cleaned out means सफाई हो चुकी थी घर की. कैसे सफाई? But not really. The thief had left behind one thing, a final insult. Took everything. His bag was not there. What was that as? Here, except one thing which I don't like, final insult it was on me that he had left. The doctor said my vest, the dirty one, gandhi jo banyan thi, wohi nahi le gaya. The fellow had such a sense of cleanliness. High thief, लेकिन he was having a great sense of cleanliness. अगर वो vest गंदा है तो he didn't take. The rascal could have taken it. He gets angry on that, and tells that he should have taken it and washed it and with soap and water and used it. Why has not taken this also? You've taken everything. Did you see the snake and the next day, doctor? The doctor laughed. I've never seen it since. No, I have not seen it since. It was a snake which was taken with its own beauty. At the time when I left, I saw last it was nicely glare, taking his reflection and seeing itself and amusing and feeling that sense of amusement and all that you can see. So that is why it was obsessed by the beauty of itself. The snake, the writer says, and therefore the narrator is telling this, the homeopath telling the last line is also very Typical. The year about this lesson, the translate from Malayalam by V. Abdullah. Actually, it was written by Vaikum Muhammad Bashir and was translated by V. Abdullah from the Malayalam story. You have to remember this, because writing in the answer. With this, we complete the text fifth lesson. You go through the textual question answers and complete it in your fair book. Till then, see you in the next period.